The Reformed Gamers is brought to you 100% independent and ad-free thanks to our dear patrons over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers. To get yourself sweet perks such as early access to all of our episodes, special episodes of the podcast, and more, head over to patreon.com/thereformedgamers today and consider lending support to the show. Without further ado, let's hop into the show. Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 137 of The Reformed Gamers, the show all about theology, video games, and really anything else that we can think of. I'm your dear commander host, Logan, and joining me today in Adam's absence is one of our patrons, Wesley, man, the average trainer. Say hello to the dear listeners.
Hello, everybody, and I hope everybody's doing well tonight because I am not. I am currently sick.
Yeah, we were talking about that pre-show. So, dear patrons, if you got that, listen to that. If you're not a patron, hey, consider supporting us on Patreon and get the early uncut access episodes. We're talking about how you kind of like hopped up on something that is like, it's got like what, 2 cups of caffeine in it, 2 cups of coffee in it, or something like that.
It is Excedrin infused with a cup's worth of caffeine, a cup's worth of coffee of caffeine. However, that is actually stated, and it is something else. Let me tell you. Well, I see a waveform, so in a sense, I do see the sound. Yes,
but the program that we're using. Never mind.
Yes.
Anyway,
but I am like alert and completely exhausted at the same time. So whatever comes out of my mouth, that's just kind of how it's going to be, I think.
Fantastic. It's going to be like
and
that.
I apologize if anything's offensive.
It's going to be like that episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Anyway, so dear patrons, real quick before we get into the show, a little bit of housekeeping. Some new YouTube content is up on the website. Depending on when you're listening to this, well, I mean, you're going to be able to see the first look we put up of Wargroove on there. It's a game on the Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and PC. Alvin Chow, thank you for letting us know on YouTube. And then hopefully the first episode of Fury will be on there. We're going to be restarting that and getting that back up because Wesley over here hooked us up with a capture card, and I've just been capturing footage left and right of the different games I've been playing on the Switch. So I'm hoping to get those uploaded by the time that this episode officially releases. So patrons, just, simmer down a little bit. You can go watch Wargroove at least. Also, just a reminder to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Twitch, and then again, if you like what we do here at the show, you can go over to Patreon and pledge your support. But if you don't want to support us on Patreon, that's fine too. Just follow us in one of those other ways and then leave us a rating and review on iTunes because that helps us out immensely, more than you could ever imagine. But without further ado, let's just get into it, man. So hello and welcome to the Reformed Gamers. We like to start the show like we always do with a little bit of what have we been playing. And Wesley, good sir, man, what have you been up to? What are some of the games that you've been diving into?
Considering the topic of the show, this seems rather fitting that I am spending most of my time on actually a dedicated portable device, and that would be my Nintendo 3DS. I have just fallen back down into the 3DS well, and I'm trying to clear up a lot of the games that I have on there that are relatively short, so that I can start racking up some points in that backlog golf, hashtag backlog golf. That's in the backlog book club.
Mm-hmm.
So the first game that I've been, no, that's impossible. No way. I just bought a PlayStation Classic the other day, so that added another point to me. So I'm just like, dang it.
That added like several points, man. What were you thinking?
Well, I get +1 just for buying the system, but I don't get a +1 until I start any of the other games. So really, I should just wait it out for 10 more months, and then I can actually start playing the games.
Oh,
but I don't know.
There you go.
I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I might even just take it back. It was kind of an impulse buy.
So what have you been playing on the 3DS?
Kirby's Dream Land for the original Game Boy. I've just been hitting up the Virtual Console, the Game Boy titles that I've had. So Kirby's Dream Land is one that I've been playing. It's actually technically the first Kirby game, I believe. And it's also one where Kirby doesn't have his copy ability. So it's just really just pure gameplay. Like, how good are you at playing a Kirby game?
So
I really, really enjoyed it.
Eating the enemies and then shooting them back out as stars?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. And it's before you had any of the animal mounts and everything. So I like to think of it as the pure distilled Kirby experience.
Yeah.
And it was really fun, actually. So that was fun. And then I've also picked up Mega Man Extreme, which is on the Game Boy Color, which was basically like a functional 8-bit demake of Mega Man X and Mega Man X2 kind of squashed together with this original story. and it was for the Game Boy Color, so felt like you were playing on an original Nintendo. And that was also kind of fun, but it was like cramping up my hands something bad because there's like no way to do a proper dash
Oh
on
yeah.
it. So fighting Sigma at the end, they use the same Sigma boss from Mega Man X. So that's nearly impossible on the Game Boy, but somehow I was able to.
I can only imagine. I just fought him for the first time in the X collection, and I'm just it's a hard fight. So I can only imagine what that would be like if you're not really able to dash or do much of the maneuvering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you just have A, B, the directional pad, and that's pretty much it. So you have to like double tap the directional sticks just to start dashing.
So it's like old school Mega Man.
Yeah, it's really fun actually, and it's not as bad as like the Mega Man games that came out on the original Game Boy that were kind of like also demakes of the original classic Mega Man games.
Yeah,
because it's not as like zoomed in and everything, so it's a little bit more functional in those games, but it's still like impossible to beat. And now I'm going to move on to the sequel since I hate having fun apparently with my life. And the last game that I've been playing is actually a 3DS exclusive. It's called Attack of the Friday Monsters: A Tokyo Tale. And it is basically like this crazy, weird nostalgia trip to like 1970s Japan. And there's like actual like kaiju that are like fighting in the city during certain date, like on Fridays and everything. And the city's like, oh, here goes those monsters again and everything. But the way that the game plays is that you're playing as like this little kid that's living there at the time in this little Japanese village. And I would honestly like think the control system and the way like the fixed camera angles are, it's like playing the original Resident Evil in a sense.
Okay.
Which is really weird to think about, but it's got like it's got the fixed camera angle and you have all this scenery behind you. And as you go from one area, it just loads up this other piece of scenery, and it controls like really nicely. Actually, it's not like tank controls, thankfully, but I don't know. I'm just having a lot of fun with that. And you're going around collecting these cards for these giant monsters that they made up for the game. And as someone who just absolutely loves that genre, that is just, it warms my heart.
Yeah. Is this a new game or something? Because I haven't heard of this one.
It was released in 2013, I think. And it was like this whole like series of games from Japanese developers, these nice short little indie titles that you could play. And there's a couple other ones like the Starship Damri and Liberation Maiden, which is like a shmup of some sort. And they're all like different genres and whatnot.
Huh. Well, I'm going to be looking up some gameplay then after this, because that actually sounds pretty cool. I mean, we all know I've been on a bit of a Resident Evil kick lately. So as soon as you said Resident Evil, I'm like, you have my curiosity now, good sir.
Yeah. And it feels really eerie because it's like, because it's presented in that style, that's like so reminiscent of those types of games. Mm-hmm. It's like something's going to happen. Like there's something really bad's going to happen.
So like the music starts playing when you know something's about to happen or something like that.
Not yet. I'm not that far in the game yet, so it could take a completely wild turn. But it got pretty good reviews and everything, so I'm really looking forward to putting more time into that.
Cool. All right, then. Well, as far as what I've been playing, I already brought up Resident Evil 2. It is a game that actually I haven't been playing, but it's effectively ruined just about anything and everything else that I've been trying to play, because I don't know what it is, but I've tried to play several games. One of them I will talk about here in a second, and I can't get into them. I tried to play Prey, and I couldn't get into it. All I could think about was just, man, I just want to keep playing Resident Evil. I tried to play Resident Evil 6, and I'm like, wow, this is a roaring dumpster fire compared to Resident Evil 2. And so I'm having a hard time getting into stuff. So I decided, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try and play some games on my Switch, try and get off of the PlayStation platform for a little bit, and play something on my Switch. And so Final Fantasy IX came out. So congratulations, Square Enix, you got me to buy the game for a fourth time now. And
how many times have you beaten it?
0. I've bought the game like 4 times and I haven't beaten it a single time. I've only put an hour into it, and I couldn't get into it. But I was determined, though. I was like, I'm going to get this on the Switch, and I'm going to play it, and I'm going to finish it, and I'm going to enjoy it because it's Final Fantasy, and I like Final Fantasy games.
And every Final Fantasy game's fantastic, right? Obviously.
Not every... I probably have a contrarian opinion about Final Fantasy X, but again, I'll pick that up when it comes out. Oh. Yeah, they're all great. They're all perfect. There's not a single problem with any of them.
Especially number 7, right?
Oh, especially 7. 7 is a gem. But so here's the deal. I picked the game up for the Switch. I downloaded it, and I'm about 5 hours in right now. And I'm not like, I go back and forth on it a lot. There's things about the game I enjoy, and there's other things about the game I just don't enjoy. And I think part of that is mostly due to the fact that it's such an old game that I'm having a hard time kind of putting myself in that mindset of, this is an old game. I got to give it a little more grace because it's outdated in several ways. But at the same time, I'm finding myself not really caring about any of the characters, which is weird for me. And I think most of that is just because of, I don't like the way that the game's art style is designed. It's kind of off-putting to me. It's borderline. I don't even know how to describe it. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Like, I don't want to say it hurts to look at.
It feels like a PlayStation 1 game.
I guess. And I guess that's really just kind of what I'm getting at. Is like, this looks and feels very much like a PlayStation 1 game. And there's nothing wrong.
It's basically 20 years old at this point, right?
Is it really that old?
I'd have to imagine, because Final Fantasy X came out like 2000 or 2001 or 2002. So Final Fantasy 9 must come out like just a little bit before that.
Oh, man, I am old. Well, I don't know. I'm still going to keep playing it because I want to finish it, or at least get to disc 2 and see if I change my mind or anything like that. Because we all know I wear my flippy floppy so often.
Yeah, I was about to say, would you describe this as flip flopping on the game?
I could. I mean, who knows, man? I'll come back on the next episode and be like, no, Final Fantasy IX is great. It's the best Final Fantasy out there. That's why you can't really trust any of my reviews, because I flip flop so much. But like I said, I'll keep playing it and keep pushing forward and playing it here and there. But I just think it's because Resident Evil 2, man. I think it's just ruined every single game that I would try to play, because I'm just like, I just want to play Resident Evil 2. I just want to keep playing it.
Now, is it just really that good, Resident Evil 2?
Dude, I loved Resident Evil 2 Remake. Like, I don't have a single complaint about that game. I pushed through the hardcore story modes with both characters twice just so I could get the platinum trophy, which is insanely brutal. But I love that game, man. To me, that is how you remake a game. That is the perfect game that has come out this year so far. So I know it's a lot of high praise, but I seriously love that game. It's really, really good.
I'll have to try it sometime.
You should, man. But just be prepared to get scared a lot.
Yes. The thing is, I gotta like wait until, when it's dark, when my toddler's asleep, because then he just likes to come in and just like sit and watch me play like Kingdom Hearts 3 or something.
Yeah, no, this is a game.
Just like Resident Evil 2, that might be a little bit much.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But anyway, so that's about all I've been playing. So man, let's switch gears here. Let's talk about what we've been reading, man. What have you been reading as of late?
As of late, really only like 2 books. The History of the Future by Blake Harris, the one that you recommended, and actually like I didn't even know it was coming out until you like said something about it.
Yeah, tweeted about it, yeah,
in the group, and I was just like, oh shoot, I gotta get that. And so I got it on Audible, and I'm listening to it, and it's really good. Actually, it's really enjoyable. It just strikes all those places that Console Wars did, except I'm a little bit less nostalgic about this because I don't really like follow VR and whatnot, and I don't have a VR headset, so it's kind of a little bit like off my radar, but it's still pretty good. So that's the main thing that I've been reading. And well, not the main thing, but the side project I've been reading. But the main thing I've been reading for 2019, and this is my big goal for the year, is to read all of Calvin's Institutes within a year. Wow. And I am nearly finished with book 1. I'm behind by like a week or 2 in the reading plan, but it is so good. Oh my goodness. Like, I kind of expected it to go into it like thinking like, oh man, this is going to be just like archaic and dusty, and it's going to have like $17 theological terms and whatnot. And I was just surprised by how like easily readable it was. It could just be the translation that I'm reading, but it's just like I am eating it up. Good, I'm shocked by that. But anyway, yeah, it's super, super good, and it honestly feels like it could have been written today in many ways. So I would highly recommend that.
So is there like a particular translation then that you're reading, or some kind of edit, or?
I'm not actually sure which translation I'm reading. I just grabbed the $1 one on the Amazon Kindle Marketplace, and I thought, this is good. Yeah, I'll take that. But I think it's a bit of an older translation.
Okay,
but I'm
gotcha.
not exactly sure. I could look
I
it
just
up,
remember
but
I just remember because I was trying to look up some of was it John? Yeah, it was John Owen's writings, but there was like several different edits on Amazon, several different like translations. And I'm like, well, I don't know which one to buy, so I'm just not gonna buy any of them because I don't want to spend money on something I can't read. So I didn't know if that was something similar or if that was something a little bit easier to get into. From the sounds of it, though, it sounds like it's easy enough to read.
mhm. Yeah, quite. And I'm stuck in like the fourth grade world all day, so it's just like that's where my brain is anyway. So I need something at
Gotcha.
like the fourth and fifth grade level.
What I've been reading is Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 through 20. I think I mentioned this on the last episode. I'm not really sure. But for the past 2 months, I've been walking my students through the book of Ephesians. It's been a really, really good study. And so we ended that study this past Wednesday going through basically talking about the armor of God and kind of broke it up into a couple different parts there about, being strong in Christ, which is what it says in verses 10 and 11, to be strong in Christ and be strong in his strength. And it's kind of this reminder of, a lot of times when we go through life, we think we can handle things on our own. And so we rely on our own strength, but then we get frustrated when we stumble and we fall or we make mistakes. And it's like, if we would have relied on God's strength, I think we would have gotten through it a little bit better. But it's just, it was good to bring that to mind because I'm trying to tell students like all the time, like, you can't really rely on your own strength. You got to rely on God. You got to lean into him because he's the one that's going to get you through it. And then we talked about, because the next verse 12 talks about who our true enemy is. And, our war is not against flesh and blood. It's against the rulers, the authorities, the cosmic powers of darkness and those kind of things. And it kind of got me thinking a little bit about how, and this is so easy to do on social media, and I'm even guilty of this too. Like we tend to get into these arguments or quarrels over words, so to speak, sometimes. Just really pointless arguments. And we walk away from that and nothing changed. Like we didn't change each other's minds, nothing of that happened. And it's like, it just kind of made me think about like, how often do we as Christians, myself included, waste time trying to, I guess, fight the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And even like sometimes we attack the person and not the argument. And that leads to, just kind of an end of discussion, really. Because at that point, it's like, why should I continue if all you're going to do is just attack me? I'm trying to have a conversation, and we clearly don't want to have a conversation.
Mhm.
So it got me thinking about that, and it's just kind of making me take a look at some of the interactions that I do online, and whether or not I should even do that. And I probably should have took my own advice on that earlier today, but hey, always reforming and always repenting. So. There's that, but it's a good chapter, and really just kind of going through it again, just thinking about the armor of God that we have. It's really cool to think that in Christ, God really does equip us to go do whatever it is he's called us to do, and he gives us the armor to do it. And so it was a really cool, hopefully my students got it. Sometimes they tend to just kind of doze off and start thinking about Fortnite, but
Of course.
it's really good. It's really good. I encourage y'all to go read it, to go check it out for yourself. Well, man, I think this is the fastest we've ever gotten to a topic on this show. This show might be 40, 50 minutes long. We'll see how it goes. But man, so recently, this has been kind of going around back and forth for a little bit that Sony would be ending the production of the PlayStation Vita sometime soon. And an article came out here pretty recently, I think within the past few weeks, that Sony is officially ending production of the PlayStation Vita. I know, and it's disappointing. It's kind of like the end of an era, man.
It really
is.
So
I think in honor of this, I have a PlayStation Vita right here. I have a little wooden boat I picked up from Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to give it a Viking funeral right here in my office and just light it. I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, those memory cards are too expensive. Don't do that.
They really are, man. It's crazy how they're still as expensive as they are. And you know what's crazy is they're going to get even more expensive now that all that stuff's getting put out of production.
Oh,
so, dear listeners, I did put a relevant reading link in the show notes if you want to check out the article for yourself and some other things that we'll be talking about. But I thought, and it stinks that Adam won't be here to do this, so maybe we'll have to get him in on the next episode. We'll do a goodbye PS Vita part 2 and get him in on this. But
that's when you got to play taps and everything and have a moment of silence.
Exactly. And then actually light the Vita on fire. But so what we'll do this episode, just kind of talk about the PS Vita, man. Just kind of talk about, Wesley, I don't know if you got any notes or anything like that. But if you got anything you want to talk about the PS Vita, you know, this sounds weird. It's like we're at like having a eulogy for the PS Vita.
Functionally, yes.
But that's kind of what we're doing. That's what we do on the Reformed Gamers. Vita Island is sinking into the ocean like Atlantis.
Yes.
And we're here to remember it. So, man, do you have? Let's start off with this because I've had multiple PS Vitas because I'm stupid and I keep selling it and then buying a new one. But did you ever have a PS Vita? Did you have a PlayStation TV, or what was your experience with the Vita?
I actually got my Vita actually on the recommendation of this podcast. Hey, there you go. You really do influence people. Yes, because
so we are the reason you bought a PlayStation Vita.
Yes, and not only that, but you are the reason I bought a PS Vita with Persona 4 Golden as the only game I had for like the first like month, basically. So I got that on my birthday a couple years ago. Just mentioned to my mom that I was like, oh, hey, yeah, PlayStation Vita, that's kind of cool. You know, it's the hot new system, right? So, you know, if you want to like buy that for me for my birthday, I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to ask for it, but, you know, whatever. And she ended up,
like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know, I gave you grandchildren. Come on. That's a nice thing, right? So she's like, oh, yeah, totally. I'll buy you the Vita.
That's
so
cool.
That showed up in the mail one day, and I was just like in heaven. Well, you know, in like an earthly equivalent of heaven, but functionally, it felt like heaven. And I had actually like sneakily went ahead and bought Persona 4 Golden a couple days in advance that it actually arrived at my house. So that was like waiting for me, and I was just like transported to a new realm. It was such a fun system to start playing, and I blazed through that game probably in like the first month or two, and I considered going back for the platinum trophy, but I'm not insane like other people are.
Yeah, no, I can tell you, don't do it. Yeah. Don't do that to yourself.
That is not a hole I want to fall down into. But it has just been such a great system to have over these last couple of years, and is really, I mean, this is basically what the prototype Switch was, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And what's cool is, man, you know, we're not going to make any bones about it. This system wasn't really supported very well in terms of first party, at least in the past several years. But man, it was host to so many good games, like Persona 4 Golden, which was my first game on there too, man. I love that game. Longtime listeners know how much I really, really love that game, even after going for the platinum trophy. But what's crazy to think about, and I looked this up just now, that system came out on February 22nd, 2012. It's been over 7 years that thing has been around. And what's even crazier, it may be out of production, but people are still putting games on it. There are still games slated to come out on that thing this year. And so it's crazy how this thing is almost like the little engine that could. It just kind of keeps going. It's running on fumes.
Gotta make it.
It's gotta go fast or slow, I guess, in this case.
Yes.
But man, so tell me about that. So you've played Persona 4 Golden. You know the amazingness that is Persona 4 Golden. There's no bones about it. But what else? Like, what are some other great games that you played on the Vita? Or maybe some of your favorite features of the PlayStation Vita?
I think like the biggest two features, honestly, would be the remote play for the PS4 and all that. That was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And I only, got a PS4 recently, but I was kind of one of those sneaky people that hooked it up to my brother's system, who's living hundreds of miles away, and so that I could remote play his PS4 games, when he wasn't. So,
nice.
Ethics aside, that was really fun for me to be able to experience some of these PS4 games like on this little system hundreds of miles away. And it's just like, what kind of magic technology is capable of doing this? I'm not even in the same room with the system, and I'm playing this game. That was so crazy. And I also just really enjoyed how many PS1 games are on it, because that was like the big system for me back when it came out. And that's the thing that got me to stop playing the Super Nintendo as much as the PlayStation 1, and being able to go back and play like the original Metal Gear Solid and the VR missions that came with that, Mega Man Legends especially, and actually being able to play it on the go. Like, I had a PSP when that came out, and that was all right. but the PS Vita was just something transcendent in comparison.
Yeah, man. And that's cool that you brought the remote play, because I remember trying to do that too. And I don't. So did you ever have a problem trying to get it to work? Because for some, and this could have just been the internet I had back when I had my Vita. I couldn't get mine to work very consistently.
I can honestly say I don't think I've ever actually had a problem with the remote play. It's always just worked pretty silky smooth for me.
It's probably just a user error on my part then, but yeah, I think for me, man, it's like you said with the PlayStation 1 games. I remember when I got mine and I realized for the first time, oh, you can play PlayStation 1 games on this thing. And because that was how I played all the Final Fantasy games. Because it was during some kind of flash sale that I remember. And I picked up just about every single Final Fantasy game for like $2 or $3 and playing through it. And it was neat to have this little... dude, you hit it on the head with like the precursor to the Switch, or like the prototype for the Switch, because it's really what it was. But like being able to have this little kind of gateway to this era of gaming that I didn't really have access to, because I was, still playing Super Nintendo at the time, which isn't bad, but still, it was just, I missed out on all these PlayStation 1 games. So playing the Final Fantasy games for the first time was just so rad to me. And it was just so radical at the same time too, because you could just take that thing with you anywhere, and you had these console-like experiences on a handheld. I never thought of that before, because we play with a 3DS and stuff, and the 3DS is fine, but I think we would all admit that when it comes to the hardware, the Vita had that thing beat, because the games just looked way better on the Vita. And so being able to play those games and just have that kind of experience on the go was just so good. So good. And then it introduced me to visual. Did you ever play any of the visual novel games that they had on there? That was a whole new genre I didn't know even existed.
Oh, really? Yeah. I dabbled in a few of them, but I'm also kind of like at the point in my life where like visual novels reading, I don't really feel like doing that right now, man.
But I hear that after playing Danganronpa once through, I'm like, I don't want to read anymore. I'm done.
Yes, exactly. Play video games for escape, man, not to think. But yeah, exactly. I really enjoyed a lot of those visual novel type games. Like there's so many of them. Oh my goodness. It feels like there was a new one every week, and it feels like they're still coming out. That's pretty much what's holding the Vita alive, I think, at this point.
I'm pretty sure there's actually 2 more new visual novel games coming out for it this year. I think I remember when I looked it up. It's just, but I mean, hey, if they want to keep putting them out, I mean, people will keep buying them. There's definitely a player base for that.
I had a question for you, actually. Did you ever actually have a PlayStation Portable?
No, I never had the PSP. That was one thing. And see, I was working at a GameStop when those things were out, which for listeners that don't know, that was basically the like Vita baby prototype thing.
Yes.
That used, what were those little disc things called that you would put in?
The UMDs.
That's it, dude. I hated those things. I hated carrying those things in stock. They really are, dude. Like, they are so terrible. They come in this little plastic case, and they're basically a mini disc. It's so weird. But no, I never had one of those. And I remember working at a GameStop and getting those in use sometimes. I'm like, what is this dinky little thing? Like, and you got to put these little discs in. That's so stupid. So I never had one. But what's funny is when I was looking into getting a Vita, I thought they still used those same things.
Oh, gosh.
So I was super apprehensive about getting a Vita, because I'm like, I don't want to use these little UMD things. I'm going to break them. I know I will. Instead, they give you little cartridges, which I guess isn't much better.
No, those things were microscopic.
Yeah. So did you have a PSP then? Because it sounds like you did.
Oh, yeah. That was basically the thing that convinced me that, okay, yeah, this Vita thing is probably going to be the real deal, because I played so many good games for the PSP with like the Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep game, the third Parasite Eve game. That was really fun as well. What else was there? Oh, Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII. That one, that is actually like the best Final Fantasy like part of the anthology that they have there. So that was really fun as well. And some of those games you can still get on the Vita to this day. Some of them are kind of lost to time because they're stuck on that UMD format, but you can actually go and get a whole bunch of them for really cheap on the PlayStation Network. So that's really cool that they kept that continuity between the two systems.
When it comes to the Vita, man, because it had a bit of a rocky life pretty much a rocky life,
to say the least.
Yeah. And so, man, and I know we've probably talked about this before, but man, what do you think caused the 3DS to succeed leaps and bounds over the Vita?
It's interesting, actually, because I was looking up some of the differences at the time between the 3DS and the Vita. And honestly, like you would think that the Vita would be the one that'd come out ahead because it launched with like 25 different games when it first came out versus the 3DS launched with 15. The 3DS's original asking price was like $250, whereas the Vita's, I think, was like, I don't even know what the Vita's launch price was, but it seemed like it was probably going to come out ahead. But those stupid memory cards for the Vita, like that is just what killed it. If they had launched that thing with just SD card support or micro SD card support, I think we would be in a completely different world now, because that would have made everything a lot easier for them to work with.
Yeah, because I remember when I got my Vita, and this was because that thing came out in 2012, and I got my Vita in it would have had to have been 2015, I want to say. Yeah, that sounds about right. And like, even then, the memory cards were still upwards of $50 some odd just for like a 16 gig or something. I'm like, what is this? It is ridiculous. And like, it's like, yeah, I totally agree. I think if they would have just not used a proprietary memory card, that thing would have taken off and it would have sold a lot more. Because I think, I mean, it's crazy. It'd be like buying a GameCube and having to spend like $70 on a memory card. Like, you're not going to do that. And so, I don't know. I would agree with that. I also think though that like, because and again, this might have just been a user error thing, or just a handful of people that I know, but it seemed like the online connectivity for it was kind of wonky at times. Like there'd be times where it runs smoothly, and then there's other times where it'd be super unreliable. I don't know if you ever hit that or not, but I would.
Yeah, trying to load anything up like outside of remote play, that was like near impossible sometimes.
Yeah,
you felt like you had to wish for it and be like, okay, this is like the 10th time. Come on, I'm trying to load up the stupid store. Let's get this going already.
Yes, that's exactly it. I remember the store being a pain to load, and even downloading games like on my Vita. And I think this was just my Vita. I don't know, maybe it wasn't. Dear listeners, if this was you too, write in and let us know. Even though I think me, Adam, and Wesley are like one of 5 people that own a Vita. Was like I would try to download games, and I would have to leave that thing up on the menu and have the download queue showing in order for it to actually download anything. And I'm like, this is so, like, I couldn't put it in standby. You know, again, it was the prototype for the Switch. The Switch is the greater Vita, as I've said before. But it would be so wonky, you know?
Oh, that would happen to me all the time. And then there's just the games that just stopped working. Like you couldn't download them anymore. I think to this day you still can't get the PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale game on the Vita digitally anymore, like because it just won't download properly.
Really?
Yeah. And I tried to do that so many times, and it just got to the point where like, I quit. I'm not doing this. I'm just buying this physical. And then it wasn't a good game, so I thought, okay about that.
I was gonna say maybe that's why they stopped doing it, because it wasn't that great of a game. I remember when they gave that out on PS Plus once, and I was just like, I don't care for this. I'd rather play Smash Brothers. So, but the thing is with the Vita though, with as many problems as we've had with it, there's always something about it that made us just want to keep playing. That made us kind of cherish this thing a little bit more than another handheld. And what do you think it was about the Vita that kept us kind of coming back to it and be like, no, this thing's a great handheld despite its flaws? You know, what kind of kept us cheering for the Vita? What for you? What made you keep cheering for the Vita?
Oh, it was the trophy support, definitely.
Yep.
That's absolutely good. Those trophies are so addicting. Oh my goodness. It's like the worst kind of drug.
Yeah, you just brought up one of my favorite drugs, which is the Vita. Well, the trophies is on the words are hard. Are you a trophy hunter? Do you like to get them platinums?
I would like to, but I feel like that just like requires too much of my time, honestly. But I've gotten a couple of them. Not like 57,000 like you have, but I do enjoy the hunt.
I want to say 57,000. It's more like 58. No, Yeah, I would go with that. I think for me though, it wasn't even so much the trophies; it was just the games on it, man. They're so like the great thing about the Vita is there's such a wide variety of games on that thing that if you had a particular taste or if you were in the mood for a specific kind of game, you could find that on the Vita. Like if you want to play a first person shooter, you had Killzone, you had Borderlands. If you want the action Indiana Jones kind of game, you have the Uncharted Lost Abyss. Was it Lost Abyss or Golden Compass? Someone write in and let me
I
know.
think it was Golden Abyss.
Oh, so I'm just mixing up two games then is what I'm doing.
I can't even remember, honestly. But
No, that's right.
yeah,
It is. It is Golden Compass because I'm thinking of Lost Legacy. Whatever. But you had that, and then of course you had plenty of JRPGs to choose from. If you want a Monster Hunter style game, you had God Eater or what's the game I'm thinking of? Freedom Wars. I mean, there was a game for everyone on that thing, and you never had you were never short of games to play. There was always something on that system there for you to play at any time, talk about with your friends, to share recommendations and things like that. And it was just so cool. It was so stinking cool. And I was curious.
And they had all those indie games too. That was basically like the indie dumping ground for the longest time.
It really was. And it's weird how the Switch has become that now.
Yeah, basically.
Because I remember Guacamelee and Nidhogg dropping on the Vita. And those are some of the like most celebrated indie titles right now. Now, I was curious about the sales of this thing because I'm curious like how much this thing is actually sold, and I don't have like a finite number, like a definite number, but I do have this one recent study here that US Gamer did in September of last year, actually, that estimated that the Vita had sold about 16 million units, and so,
which sounds like a lot, but I guess is that like worldwide sales?
I believe so, but I don't.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. But that's the thing is that like that sounds like a lot, but it really isn't because I think the PS4 has about 70 million right now. Maybe it's 90
okay,
one of the two. So it's definitely
still
not
better than the Wii U at 10 million, right?
Is that how much the Wii U sold?
It was a really paltry amount. It was like 10 million, 11 million or something. It was horrible.
Dude. Well, there you go, Vita. You did better than the Wii U. Congratulations. Because that would be sad if you didn't. Gosh, I hate the Wii U.
Yes.
But that's the crazy thing, man. And it just kind of it makes me wish that the Vita got a little bit more love and attention than it did. So let's do this real quick. Let's talk about some of our favorite games on the Vita. Because, dear listeners, just to let you know, if you're looking in to get a Vita, if you want to buy one brand new, you're going to have to do it quick. Otherwise, these things are going to go up in price because the law of supply and demand, I mean, low supply, there's going to be high demand. It's going to drive prices up.
Capitalism at work.
It is. And I love capitalism. But man, let's talk about some of our favorite games on the system. Obviously, Persona 4 Golden. We've talked about that one to death, so I'm not going to subject you guys to that. But what are some other games on the Vita that you just really enjoyed, and what was it about those that made you enjoy them?
Well, the one that comes to mind immediately is the Digimon story. What was it? Cyber Sleuth, Hackers, something or other. Cyber Sleuth, yes. I even wrote a review for that one, and I still can't even get the name right. But that one just felt like, oh my goodness, that was just like console quality game right there. That was so fun to me, at least, especially being such a hardcore Digimon fan at this point. Being able to play that and collect all these cool little pins for the Digimon on it, that was super fun for me, for sure. And it felt like Persona 4 in some ways. So, going along with that was pretty fun. Another game that I really liked was the Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel, which is, again, a JRPG. It's pretty much known for JRPGs at this point. And that one was, I haven't finished that one yet, but that's a super dense game. And it's got a really nice, complicated battle system that I really enjoyed. Have you ever tried that one?
I was about to ask, like, I don't know if I played this one, it would have been only probably for like a couple minutes or so, because I know I had it on my Vita. I just don't remember anything about it. So what made this one stand out? Because I hear that anytime I hear this game come up in the Facebook group or anywhere online, it's gotten a lot of love. So what is it about this game that makes it stand out?
I think a lot of it has to do with, again, like the battle system is just really good. Like it just feels good to engage in battles and execute all those different combos and everything. It's been a little while since I played it, so it's not exactly fresh in my mind. And it just had a really interesting story. Like you had this whole cast of schoolmates in your squad and everything, and you're all going to school, and you have all that going on as well, and forming these, rip off social links basically with all of them. And it just felt like a better, or not better. No, wait, that's sacrilege. No,
Whoa.
Felt like a Persona 4 Golden done in a different way, like a bit of a twist.
Okay.
And with a lot more military stuff behind it. So that was fun to me for sure.
Yeah, that's one. And I think those games are coming to the PS4 sometime soon, or at least I know the third one is. So if those come to the system,
yeah, the first two I think are already on the PS4.
Are they really?
I think so, yes.
Well,
or the PS3. I can't remember exactly.
I know they're definitely on the PS3, but either way, I'm going to go look these games up. They're probably on my PlayStation Now subscription. I need to go actually use that thing. So
gain all the points.
Just don't tell Eric.
Yes.
I think for me, this is one that's kind of flown under the radar. Not a whole lot of people played, or at least not a whole lot of people in my circle. And that game is Freedom Wars. And we've talked about it on the show here a long time ago. Adam played it too. But it's this game where you start off as a prisoner with, like, I think 1,000,000-year debt or something like that. And so you play through the game and you're working that down by hunting monsters or robots or something like that. And so it had this really cool twist on the Monster Hunter style of gameplay, because you had this thing called a thorn, which is basically a grapple hook. And so you could grapple onto the monsters and cut off certain appendages that would remove an attack or remove a shield buff from them. And then you would get to use that later to craft like different weapons for yourself, different gear and things like that. And it was such a cool game. Like I don't know how many hours I put into that game. And I don't know what you get when you clear your debt. I didn't make it that far. I think I had like 20,000 years left on the record or something like that.
I got like 2 hours in the game and it was too complicated for me. So
really? Oh, dude, it was so good. It was so good.
I was like, this is hard. Too many buttons to remember.
It wasn't that bad. The online for it was real sketchy, though. I couldn't get it to work at all. Well, I got it to work a couple times, but it wasn't very consistent. But it was just, to me, it was a cool game. I really, really enjoyed it. And it was one of those games, too. And we'll talk about the PlayStation TV here in a second. That was very short-lived. I had a lot of fun with it, man. It was what really got me into Monster Hunter games, because after that, I started playing Monster Hunter on the 3DS, and I didn't think it was quite as good as Freedom Wars. I think Freedom Wars does a lot of things better than Monster Hunter, but, I don't know how well it sold, and we honestly might never see it again, which is a shame. But
it really is, honestly.
Yeah.
Because all these games that are made specifically for that, especially with like the touch capacitive touchscreen, or the capacitive touchscreen that they had, and the back screen or the back touchscreen, I don't know, however that thing's called, but a lot of these games are just basically like lost to time now, because you can't really recreate the experience as much on the PS4 or anything. So
yeah,
who knows what we're going to be able to get from that.
Yeah, or at least not without a complete overhaul kind of thing. We saw games like Gravity Rush come to the PS4, but that was kind of easy to do because you can use that gyroscope thing with the controller and manipulate it that easily, which is probably a surprise to some people that Gravity Rush was originally a Vita game. But yeah, that's one of the games that stands out to me, and it probably makes people think like, okay, so Logan only played Persona 4 Golden and Freedom Wars, and that's all I played on it. So there's only 2 good games on the Vita, but there's a couple more games on there that I played that were really good. Of course, like the Final Fantasy games. I first played Chrono Trigger on the Vita, which, by the way,
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a really, really bad port. I do not recommend that.
Load times are horrendous.
It's the worst. It runs so slow. It runs more slow than Final Fantasy 9 does. But man, real quick, I gotta know, because I was all about the PlayStation TV when that came out. Connecting it, for those of you that don't know, the PlayStation TV was basically it was about the size of a small deck of cards, and it was a Vita that you connected to your TV, but only certain games would work on it, which is weird. But man, did you ever have one of these? And if you did, what was your experience with that?
Oh, that system was perfect. I don't have a bad thing to say about that system. I never ran into that problem. I think people are overblowing that issue completely.
Can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not. I can't read this.
Oh no, this is me being serious. This is my serious voice right here. I loved the PS TV. That's how I played a lot of my games, honestly.
Really?
A lot of Digimon was played on that one, and I had a blast with it because I could connect it basically and use like a PS3 controller with it, and it played all the PS1 games basically exactly how I remember them. And
Yeah.
that was super fun. And I don't have enough good things to say about the PS TV. It was so criminally short lived.
Yeah.
I loved that thing so much, and I still have it. I just haven't looked it up anytime recently, but
Yeah.
it's really fun.
I still have mine too. I just don't know where the power cables or anything for it is, so I can't get it going, and I don't think I have a memory card in. Well, that thing has like a gig of memory built into it, doesn't it?
I can't remember that. I think it has a little bit. Not. I don't even know if it's a gig. Honestly, it might be like 512 megabytes to be perfectly fair with that. But it was pretty fun. I loved it.
It was really, really cool. I really enjoy my. I'm gonna try and find some of my what are they called? The things that you use to connect it to the TV. Some of the cables.
HDMI.
Yeah, I got plenty of those. But like the power cable. But so I mean,
micro USB or something.
Yeah, that's it. So this thing, man, it came out in 2014, and I think it only lasted like maybe a year or two, if that. It didn't last very long. It didn't seem like.
No.
Maybe 2016 at the latest. But yeah, man, I miss that thing. Playing Persona 4 Golden on the big screen was
that was great,
so good. And like you said with the PS1 games, dude, again, it was like this little portal of nostalgia that took me back to an era of games that I simply did not play. Now I don't know if you can still find these things anymore. Probably not. I would imagine.
I think they're getting pretty scarce. I remember buying it when they were like only like a year or two after they started production. I got mine for like $20.
Yeah.
So I was like, score.
I did too, because like it was somewhere around that price range, because GameStop was running a promo on them trying to get them out of their inventory, and I picked one up. But man, that thing was just, it was nice too, because this is the problem that I have with all handhelds. Your hands cramp up after a while. It's just, unless you get a grip for it or something, it's hard to play. But man, the PS TV was so cool, man. Being able to play a lot of those games on there. Play Metal Gear Solid, the HD collection on that was pretty sick too. That was my first gateway into Metal Gear Solid. I just remembered was the Vita, but
through the Vita, really?
Yeah, I had the HD collection because I bought it for like I think $12 or something during a flash sale. I'm telling you, man, the flash sales that Sony does is what gets me every time. This is why I have a big backlog, is because Sony keeps having these flash sales. But yeah, man,
they are the worst. Oh my goodness, there are times when I've dropped, I don't want anybody, to judge me on this, but I've dropped probably like $80-$90 just on flash sale games, and I just loaded up that backlog and never looked back.
You're not alone, dude. You're not alone. But yeah, man, the Vita, it's out of production. It's going away. So like we've said, I mean, if you want to go get one, you probably ought to go do it now. Unless you're going to buy it used, you can get those pretty cheap used. I think you can.
Somebody's been snatching them up from my local GameStop pretty heavily, actually.
Oh,
I
really?
haven't seen a used one in forever.
Dude, they were preparing for this day. They were preparing for this day. But yeah, man.
And one thing that's really interesting to me is like how many kids actually liked the system, because being a teacher and everything, I talk to my kids about games all the time, and a lot of them love playing their PS4, they love playing the Wii U, the 3DS, but surprisingly the Vita gets a ton of love, and I'm just like, how, like, what games are you playing on it? I guess like Lego games and such, and I don't know, but it's surprisingly really popular among the crowd that I'm teaching right now, which is like fourth graders. So
man, you have a cool group of fourth graders. Don't let anybody tell them different.
Oh man, yeah.
But man, you got to think about this though, and I'm going to be as bold as I'm about to be right now and say this. If we didn't have the Vita plus the PS TV, I don't think we would have got the Switch.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah, that proof of concept with the remote play and everything, that's pretty much, yeah.
Because I mean,
or the Wii U for that matter, honestly.
Yeah. And so, man, I think we as gamers, we owe a lot to the PS Vita. It may have been a system that we didn't support very well, but I think we owe a lot to the PS Vita in that it gave us the greater Vita, which is the Nintendo Switch, the most beloved Nintendo console of, well, maybe not all time, but at least in recent memory.
You're going bold with that claim. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm not that bold. I'm not going to be that spicy. So, but yeah. So, dear listeners, there you go, man. The PlayStation Vita, the handheld, it was the underdog. We tried to support it. We loved it. But all good things must come to
several $100 on it, you know.
You drop a little too much on it, you know.
Yes. Now, before we move on from the Vita topic, though, I'd have to ask, like, what would you want to see in a Vita successor if Sony were to ever actually put something like that out? What would you want to see?
Full VR support. No, I'm kidding.
Dang, that'd be really cool.
I don't know. Well, I mean, Nintendo's doing it with the Labo kit here soon, so maybe they could do that.
I'm thinking, yeah.
I would just say, you know, the thing with the Vita, there's two things that a successor would need. And its problem wasn't getting game support. It got a lot of games, but what the problem of it is I guess a few of the problems that need to be remedied are the memory. You know, you can't do the proprietary overpriced memory cards. That just hurts it more than anything else. But if it's going to come out, anytime soon, it needs to have some kind of connectability to the PS4. And I'm not talking about like being on the same Wi-Fi and you can remote play. I'm talking about like being able to be like the Switch almost, because the Switch has changed a lot now. You could say it's switched things up. And one of the things it also needs, it needs a better menu interface. It needs a better like Wi-Fi capability. Yeah. It needs to be better on all those fronts. The games are fine, but the hardware and the software is where it really needs the most attention and the most love. And
those bubbles are horrible. Gosh, oh my goodness. I hate that design so much.
They were ugly.
So much.
They were the worst. But yeah, that's what would have to change. Granted, they could probably put out a Vita successor and it be just mildly better than the current Vita, and I would still buy it up because I'm a Sony pony for life until I put my flip flops on and go back to Xbox. But you know, it's got to have that, you know, and Sony just needs to get behind it a little bit more, you know, like really sell that thing, get behind it. It's a little engine that could. You know, so, but what about you?
Honestly, I'm like trying to hypothesize what this would look like in my mind. And obviously, yeah, you need some kind of standard memory and whatnot. You need a way better internet connectivity, whatnot, just to be able to like load the store. But that's a problem with the PS4 and the PS3 as well. So, you know, that's just how it is.
True.
But I don't know, kind of thinking like, what if something happens with the success of the Switch and everything, and Microsoft backing the Switch quite a bit more? What if they came out with something with the PS5? That'd be kind of interesting to see, like some kind of modular system built there where you actually have like your portable function, but then you can bring it home as a console, just like the Switch is basically, but way, way more powerful.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty interesting.
And imagine this. What if, I think PS Now worked on the Vita to a degree. Imagine having the PS Now work on a Vita too, and having all those games that you could be able to stream at any time. Like,
or even actually download if you have a good storage option.
Oh my goodness.
Fantastic.
Speaking my love language, man. There you go. Exactly.
Oh, man.
Exactly. It would be cool. It would be so cool. Sony, get on it. Your Legion.
And tons of trophies.
I mean, you could sweet talk me with some trophies easily.
Hey.
I'm just saying, Sony. You got a lot of people out here that would support a Vita successor. You got to get in on that game, man. You got to get in on it. But you got to do it right. You got to do it right. So, dear listeners, if you got a PS Vita, let us know. Let us know some of your favorite games. Let us know some of your favorite features. Let us know some of your favorite memories of the PlayStation Vita, of your time with this little system, this little engine this underdog of a game console.
Toot.
And let us know. Let us know. But until then, we will be playing on the greater Vita, which is the Nintendo Switch. So, Wesley, man, without further ado, I mean, the words are so hard. Wesley,
words
man,
are hard.
They are hard. You know how we do. Before we end the show, we got to give some recos, man. So, before we do that, if the dear listeners were curious, what are some places you would say would be a good place to find a good Vita for cheap?
Oh man, that's a good question. I mean, you could probably scour GameStop's website and Amazon. If you're looking for an import Vita, which you could totally do, and oh man, I totally forgot to talk about that. But the importing, it's so awesome on the Vita because it was completely region free, and you can just change the language to whatever you want. It was fantastic, and they were way ahead of the 3DS on that too. But anyway, Play Asia might have some. Probably scour eBay as well, but Play Asia would probably have some Asian models for you if you were interested, and you might be able to get those at a pretty sweet deal because they have a lot of sales on it. You just got to, overlook in some of the other unsavory aspects of that website. But other than that might be the best place to get something like that right now.
Yep. I'm actually looking on eBay right now, and there's a lot of Vitas for like 150. So
Oh man,
they've already gone up because I remember looking at them a couple years ago, and they're like 110, 120. So they're going up. Better get in on them, guys. So eBay, Amazon,
I feel like I need to buy a backup.
Do what?
I feel like I need to buy a backup, honestly, because I'm just so worried that this one is taking such a beating that I still have the one that I got from my mom. So I'm just like, oh boy, it's been years. This thing's going to break sometime soon.
I'm tempted to pick one up too, and then just try to find some way to explain it to my wife. Like, you don't understand. It's vintage. This is gaming history.
I need my 17th Vita in a row.
it probably would be. Let's not go there. Anyway, dear listeners, before we let you go, some recos. Wesley, man, what should the dear listeners check out?
Okay, well, this is going to be probably longer than the actual episode, so strap yourself right in, folks. But
here we go.
Yes, you listening right now, you need to go search up on Crunchyroll, search up on the VRV website, search up on Amazon Prime. You need to go watch Ultraman. Ultraman is fantastic. Ultraman is the most Christian influenced thing to come out of Japan, and it's actually like done really well. And I know that sounds really weird. Something Christian coming from Japan? Yes, Ultraman is the most Christian show on TV right now. That's without a doubt in my mind because it is fantastic. You have to watch Ultraman. Ultraman's coming out, the new animated version, on April 1st, but you need to get something before that. You need to actually go watch the live action stuff. That is such a fantastic show with the best giant robot fights that you could, well, not giant robots, but best giant monster fights that you could ever imagine. You have to watch it. It's fantastic.
All right. I will go check it out then. I will go check it out.
Do you have any questions about Ultraman?
Oh, I'll let you know. I watched Gridman, and me and you were kind of geeking out about it a couple times. So
that's good, but Ultraman is way better.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I'm gonna watch it right after this then.
Yeah. The thing about Ultraman here, let me just have this little diversion for a second.
No,
sorry,
I'm
going to interrupt, but the thing about Ultraman is that the creator actually came from like a post World War II environment, and obviously dealing with trauma of that war, very similar to Tolkien in that respect. And he converted to Roman Catholicism, which, obviously has its problems and everything, but because of that, like, he created a lot of tokusatsu programming, which has to do with like using practical special effects and everything to tell your story. And that's where a lot of the giant monster stuff came from, as well as with Godzilla and whatnot. And he really did a lot to bring in a lot of what we understand in Christianity and made it a lot more understandable through Ultraman, because Ultraman are basically these like race of like heavenly space beings and whatnot, not too dissimilar from angels and everything. And they are like the guardians of the universe and whatnot. And there's just so many like interesting parallels between the Ultramen having their hosts with like the hypostatic union, and you have this entire like, not necessarily like these divine beings that are watching over humans, and you have this entire fall and redemption narrative where you have basically like this Lucifer figure who gives into pride and greed, and he becomes like the evil Ultraman, and it's just really, really, really good stuff. And you can watch it on Crunchyroll for free. You can watch it on Amazon Prime through the Toku HD channel, and it is just really interesting stuff that makes you think. And he really like goes out of his way to, well, the creators died a long time ago, but the people that have been picking up the torch and everything, they really go out of their way to make you really think about what you're watching, and it's just good quality television. And that's my pitch for Ultraman.
You straight up just sold me on it, so I'm gonna go look this up on. Would you say Amazon Prime?
You can get some of the shows through the Toku HD channel subscription. It's like $3.99 a month or so. But the Ultraman Zero movies are through that on Amazon Prime, and I would highly recommend those. They're kind of divided into like 20 to 30-minute episodes, all these different movies they made about Ultraman Zero, who's the son of another Ultra, one of the more famous ones from the 60s. And there is just so much continuity because the show started in the 60s and they're still like carrying on story plots from way back when. And
Oh, that's cool.
good stuff.
Sounds like
Kind of like
Who.
Doctor Who in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the same wavelength. Awesome. Well, I'll go look that up then. Well, dear listeners, as far as my recos go, then, if you are into metal music at all, Demon Hunter dropped 2 new albums a couple weeks ago, and they are incredible. Eric Bouchard from Everyday Gamers has this theory that I don't think it's a theory. I think this is actually what they did. The songs parallel each other off the albums, and so they like tie together in this really cool way. So if you're into those albums, or if you're into that music, check them out if you haven't already. And also, if
That's
you
a name
like,
I haven't heard in years, honestly.
what, Demon Hunter? Dude.
Oh yeah,
that was my first Christian metal band. I remember picking up their what's the album, the Triptych, and just burning through that again and again and again. I'm blaring it in my car as I drove to work, like, yeah, metal music for Christians, yeah. You know, I was a dumb high school kid.
like all the cool kids do, right?
This is what we do. All the kids were listening to Nelly. I was listening to Demon Hunter. And then if you guys like to laugh, you're looking for a new funny show, I just discovered Brooklyn Nine-Nine recently with Terry Crews, Andy Samberg. That show is stinking hilarious. There's just, I mean, it's kind of goofy, dumb humor. So if you don't like that kind of humor, it's probably not going to be up your alley. But man, I love it. Terry Crews is like, he's one of my favorite actors. He makes me laugh every single time the dude is on screen. And he has this obsession with yogurt in the show that comes out randomly at times. It's a funny show. Go check it out. I've been watching it on Hulu. You could probably watch it somewhere. I don't know where you'd watch it, but I'm watching it on Hulu is where I'm at. So check out Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's good stuff.
What is it about exactly? I keep seeing the name coming up, but I'm really curious. I haven't started it yet.
It's basically about Andy Samberg and these other group of detectives, and they're just like being police trying to do their jobs essentially, but a lot of hijinks ensue. It's almost like the kind of like how The Office works, but not quite to that degree where it's like a documentary. It's a unique little thing.
Okay.
So it's funny. You'll have to try it out. Give it a couple episodes. See what you think. If you don't like it, that's fine. We can still be friends. I'll just take you off my MySpace top 8.
Me and Tom.
That's a deep cut. That is a deep cut throwback.
I'll take you off my live journal friends list. There you go.
Snap. Here we go. But yeah, give it a shot. See what you think. Let me know what you think, and we'll go from there. But man, Wesley, is there a way for folks to get in contact with you, to talk to you about different games and things like that, get to know you a little bit more? I know you're in the Patreon Discord channel, but where else can people hit you up at?
You can find me on, Facebook, Twitter, all that. I mean, I could totally go into another recommendation if you don't mind a little bit of a self-aggrandizement.
I mean, go for it.
Oh, okay. Well, I just started actually a podcast recently, and I don't know if you saw those little tweets and stuff I've been sending out, but
no, I didn't, man. Tell us about it.
Going along with the giant monster battle theme that I was going with, I actually started a podcast all about me watching various tokusatsu programming, which has to do with like Power Rangers, Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, Ultraman. Gridman will probably be a part of that. I'll definitely be watching the new Ultraman show when it comes out. I'm just going to talk about it and put a nice family-friendly spin on it, because funny enough, podcasts about children's TV shows are rarely like actually child appropriate. And I thought I need to change that, honestly.
That's really ironic.
Yeah, I know, right? And they're usually like 3 hours long because, fans are crazy. But I'm going for a short form podcast. It's called the Henshin Dad Podcast. Henshin in Japanese basically means like transformation or like morphing time, basically how you would think about it in Power Rangers. So you can find me on Twitter at Henshin-Dad, HENSHINDAD. And that's probably where I'm going to be spending a lot of my time lately. So go look at that and check that out.
Cool, man. You'll have to give us some links to that so we can plug it in the show notes. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for helping us out here. Put a new episode out, helping us light a fire to the Vita Viking style.
Yes.
And sending it on its merry way.
The funeral was very, very sad. I am like crying right now. Just a little bit, just dreaming about the Vita successor that will never be. But just hugging and holding my Switch at night, just wondering what things could have been if people had actually supported the system. It's very sad.
Yep. It is sad. It is sad indeed. Dear listeners, you know how you can alleviate that sadness by supporting us on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/thereformedgamers, you can pledge your support to the show. Support as low as $1. Guys, just go check out the Patreon. If you want to support the show, you can. If you don't, that's fine. Just support us other ways by following us on YouTube and Twitch. I've streamed Hollow Knight a lot on there recently. I've been by the time this episode comes out on public feeds, I'll stream Devil May Cry 5. And you would know what we're streaming.
Whoa, Devil May Cry?
Mm-hmm.
Devil May Cry on a Christian YouTube channel. Oh, sir.
I've already streamed Resident Evil 2 Remake, so I've kind of already broken my resolution of I'm not going to stream M-rated games on the channel, and I did it already. So anyway, you can check that stuff out on there. You'll know what we're streaming if you follow us on Twitter at TRG Podcast or like our Facebook page, The Reformed Gamers. As always, you can head over to the website, The Reformed Gamers. Check out Wesley's review of Mortal Kombat, why the war on violent video games is wrong, I think is the subtext of it. I could be wrong. Go check out the article. Go check out some other shows of podcast and just enjoy. Just enjoy knowing that it's okay to be a Christian and it's okay to play video games. And you don't have to listen to Granddaddy John Piper. You can enjoy video games. It's okay. It's okay.
Shots fired.
I probably shouldn't have said that. I'm going to stop talking before I get a little too rowdy. And yeah, dear listeners, thank you for listening. And until next time, GG and amen. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Reformed Gamers. This show is brought to you independent and ad-free thanks to our lovely dear patrons over on patreon.com. The following people are at the producer level or higher on Patreon, and we'd like to especially thank them. Those people are Alex Castellanos, David Skinner, Eric Bryant, Gareth Evans, Luke Strain, the Jet Islander Podcast, and Wesley Ray. Thank you so much for your continued support on Patreon, and thank you for encouraging my addictive habit of getting platinum trophies. GG and amen.